I lied to my dying husband and told him our son wasn't his, just to watch him die miserable. It's the cruelest thing I've ever done, and it still doesn't feel like enough. I know that sounds monstrous. I know anyone reading this is probably already sharpening their pitchforks. But before you come for my throat, I need to tell you everything. Because I need someone, anyone, to understand the hell I went through before I became this version of myself. His name was Darren. We were married for 15 years. And for most of those years, he made me feel like I was less than nothing. He didn't hit me, at least not with fists. Darren was the kind of man who used silence as a weapon. Indifference like a blade. He had this way of looking right through me, like I was just furniture in the house he happened to own. We had a son, Caleb. He was the only light in my life, the only thing that made me stay. Darren never wanted kids, not really. When I told him I was pregnant, he said, "Fine. Do what you want." That was it. No joy. No excitement. Just tolerance. Over the years, Darren got worse. He wouldn't come to school events. He missed birthdays. Caleb stopped asking about him. He called him Darren instead of Dad by the time he was 10. And Darren didn't correct him. He just didn't care. I begged him to go to therapy. I suggested marriage counseling, solo therapy, even family weekends. He said therapy was for weak people. He told me, deadpan, some people just aren't meant to be happy. I should have left. God, I should have run and never looked back. But I didn't. Because I was afraid. Because I had nowhere to go. Because Darren made sure I felt small, isolated, powerless. Then he got sick. It started with fatigue. Then he lost weight. The diagnosis came fast and brutal, stage 4 pancreatic cancer. The doctors gave him months. Maybe. He didn't cry. He didn't rage. He just shrugged and said, "Figures." I thought, maybe now, maybe this will change things. Maybe he'll realize what he's wasted. Maybe we can heal. But no. If anything, he got colder. He shut down entirely. Didn't want visitors. Didn't want to talk to Caleb. Just lay in that hospice bed and stared at the wall like he was already gone. One night, I sat beside him in the dark. The machines beeped softly, the only sign that he was still tethered to this world. And I looked at him, really looked at him. This man who had drained me dry. This man who had never loved me. Who had treated our son like an afterthought. And I snapped. I leaned in close and whispered, "You know Caleb isn't yours, right?" He turned his head slowly, his eyes glassy. "What?" he rasped. I nodded. Looked him dead in the eye. "He's not your son. I cheated. Years ago. You raised someone else's kid." It was a lie. A complete, malicious lie. But in that moment, it felt like reclaiming power. Like every ounce of hurt and neglect and quiet cruelty he ever dished out was finally reversed. Darren didn't say anything. He just looked at me. And then he turned his face away. He died 3 days later without saying another word to me. Or to Caleb. At the funeral, people offered me the usual condolences. They said I was a strong wife. A devoted mother. That Darren was lucky to have me. I smiled and nodded. But Caleb, he noticed. He asked why Darren didn't say goodbye. Why he seemed so cold in the end. And I told him he was tired. In pain. Now, years later, Caleb wants to take one of those DNA ancestry tests. He wants to learn about his heritage. He wants to connect with Darren's family, who barely know him. I don't know what to do. If he takes the test, he'll find out the truth, that Darren was his father all along. That his mother lied to a dying man and poisoned the last days of his life. Part of me wants to tell Caleb everything. To confess. To beg for forgiveness. But another part of me, a dark, bitter part, doesn't regret it. Because Darren made my life a quiet nightmare. And in the end, I gave him one of his own. I don't know what that makes me. But I needed to say it. I needed someone to know.